contact person and the fax number is always in this notice. The other things in this notice, and I know Ann's probably going to talk about it, and I think, where's Marcia? Okay, and I think you're going to talk about prevailing wage and tracking prevailing wage. So we always notify you now the new DBBE mandatory 3% requirements on your bids to the CSU for design bid build. It used to be a good faith effort for design bid build. Now it's mandatory. Prevailing wage requirements and things of that nature always appear in this notice. A lot of people say, I went to the website, but I can't seem to download the whole bid document, the whole bid package. Yes, because it's not there. It's burned to CD. So that's why you need to contact us. Plan holders list. This is just an excerpt. I think it's about 5 pages long already on this project. We do it in alphabetical order so you can see who the firm is. Sometimes we have a contact name, what the address is, the phone and fax number, and then whether they've pre-qualified with the CSU, which they have to fax us a pre-qual document. I'll speak about in a moment. And then whether they've requested a bid package for this project. So obviously, once they pre-qual, they typically do the request for the bid package. This gives you a great idea, if you're a sub or a material man, on who you may want to contact and the contact information for them and say, hey, I see you're interested in the meat processing center, and I do concrete, or I do prefab metal buildings, or I do whatever it might be. I do electrical work. I'd love to bid as one of your subs on the project, because right now this gives you all that information if you go to the website, so you know who to contact on it so that you can try to get your name and your business out there. This is good because it helps you to get out there quickly to contact these potential primes. And then obviously when we have a pre-bid conference, whether it's non-mandatory as yesterday's was, or it's mandatory as we do in job order contracting and some other stuff, you'll see who showed up, what firm, and the contact information as well, and this is posted on the website. If you want to be a prime on a project with Calpoly, there's some strict requirements, and I handed out just excerpts of contract general conditions. This is not the full set for a design bid build, but I just wanted to give you the flavor in a few areas and not print out 45 pages for you. Pre-qualification with the CSU. On any bid, if you're coming in as a prime, and if you're serving as a sub and interested in primes who may bid, they have to do a financial pre-qualification with the CSU. That is in Long Beach, the Chancellor's office, which serves the 23 CSU campuses. There's a form that they fill out, which is referenced in the materials and all of the bid documents. They have to get it in at least 5 days before the bid, and if they're intelligent, they get it in a lot sooner than that. And it has a lot of work history issues, financial issues, which are treated as confidential if you take a look at the application. But what happens then is the CSU Chancellor's office will issue a verification to them of their financial pre-qual. Let's say they're pre-qualified for $3.5 million. They can't bid on our meat processing center project because your financial pre-qual has to be at least equal to the project budget. So that's something that gives you an idea, especially as you're looking at bonding capacity of firms, insurability of firms, overall financial status of firms, who you may want to be approaching as a sub because of this financial pre-qualification. You can't get a bid package unless your pre-qual meets the project budget. The other thing is let's say that you pre-qualified for $5 million with the CSU, but you got a job order contract at San Jose State for $3 million. Well, that comes off of your pre-qual, and now you've only got, the prime only has $2 million left of pre-qual unless they apply again to get their increase. Sometimes we have a special project pre-qualification. On the UU Plaza, we had a special concrete questionnaire that went out. You had to have particular types of concrete experience because of something unique on that project. And if you don't meet those requirements and turn in the pre-qual for the special project pre-qualification in time, you won't be considered and you can't get a bid package. Every project on our campus that I'm talking about today, whether it's donor funded, but the project is on our campus, therefore state property, whether it is state funded, which there are none right now, or whether it's student fee funded and on our campus, it is on public property and therefore it is prevailing wage. And a great way to mess up your life is to violate the prevailing wage law. And it's so easy to fall into. It's sort of like that beautiful estuary as you go out between Los Osos and Morro Bay and you look and the tide's out and it looks all soft and mushy like it'd be fun to walk out there with the birds. And then you take a step in it and you sink 6 feet down like quicksand. That's what happens if you goof up on prevailing wage law. A couple of things go on. Number one, the campus has obligations as far as monitoring prevailing wage and reporting requirements. The trade unions are adamant about it, and we get Public Record Act requests all the time from trade unions wanting to see certified payrolls for various primes and subs who worked on a project. And it doesn't help if the response back is, oh, well, that was a sub of a sub, and he didn't know that it was a prevailing wage project because the prime's going to get nailed and they're going to look to the sub and the sub's going to look to the sub of the sub. You get the general picture. The other thing is typically the audit requirements on this are up to 2 years after the notice of completion gets filed on the project or the project's actually complete, whichever occurs later. So you get audited during that time, and the prime goes to the sub, and the sub goes to the sub of the sub, and you have to produce those records. And not only do you have to turn around and compensate the people that you undercompensated, but there's a penalty associated with it, there's interest associated with it, there's a training fund you get to donate money to help train people, and so you don't want to mess this up. The new thing that happened last year on design, bid, build projects at Calpoly, we used to have a good faith DBBE, Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise requirement. So you didn't have to have 3% participation, but you had to show a good faith effort. If you went out, you solicited subs, you tried to get people, maybe they weren't cost competitive, you advertised in the magazines, and you just didn't have any success in getting somebody cost competitive or with the appropriate skills. The legislature last summer said, we have a great idea. Let's change that to a hard requirement. That is, you either have 3% DBBE participation prime in your bid, so you've got 3% work of your total budget going to subs who are certified DBBEs, not who say, I served in, I don't know, Grenada for a day. They have to be certified DBBEs by the state. You have to have 3% participation. So it's critical because a prime who's bidding gets their bid kicked out, not even considered, even if they're the lowest bidder, if they don't have at least 3% participation. They report this 2 business days after the bidding. There's a DBBE sheet. So all you do is certify that you have this at the time of the bid. 2 days later, you provide us with the details and the expenses or the budget for each of the qualifying subs, DBBE subs. And then if you goof up on that, we kick you out and move on to the next lowest bidder. Projects which are bid, you can't take exception to the contract provisions, pretty customary in state and federal projects. So, if you say, oh, it looks great, I'm happy to do it, here's my price, but I take exception with your insurance and indemnity provision, you're out, non-responsive. Strict insurance requirements, there's a 10-day execution period under the contract provisions. You take a look at the handout that I gave you, it's Article 3.04. So if you go through numerically, you'll see it on the back of the second page. And that says the contract shall be signed, contract bonds, the payment performance bonds, evidencing and certificates evidencing the required insurance coverage within 10 days of receipt of the documents from the trustees. That is a fast turnaround, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Security bidder bond for the prime is typically 10% of the bid required.